Shalom. So today we are going to do a two-in-one. Um, partially because Sam asked about Psalm 45, and yeah. Hey, Dominic! Yay! It's good to see you again. Okay, so Psalm 45. I don't know where they got this, the glories of the Messiah and his bride, but the the notes at the beginning of the Psalms are uh, the note at the beginning of the Psalms are actually in the Hebrew, usually the first verse of the Psalm. So that's why in the Psalms, usually the Hebrew is a verse off from the Greek slash Christian Bibles. So to the chief musician set to the lilies, Hebrew Shoshanim, a contemplation, maskil, of the sons of Korah, a song of love. Um, for the director of music to the tune of Lilies of the Sons of Korah, a maskil, a wedding song. For the conductor on Shoshanim, of the Sons of Korah, a maskil, a song of loves. And let's look at the Hebrew. Lamanetzeach al Shoshanim, livnei Korach, maskil, shir yedidut. Um, so Lamanatseach. So the root there is nun tzadik het, which is actually victory, but a manatseach apparently was a music conductor. So a lot of a lot of uh, psalms start that way, and there is a an article in the in the vocalizations. So apparently, in the temple, there was a particular menatseach who was probably a Levite. Um, so al shoshanim, it's a preposition with the ayin. Shoshanim in modern Hebrew is roses. They're saying lilies. Um, it's not really clear what it is. I mean, Rashi has an explanation, which, um, yeah, my my guess would have been it's some sort of instrument. There are other psalms which also say similarly. Al Shoshanim Edut. Um, None of the places that I've seen actually suggest that it's a an instrument. So Psalm 69, Psalm 60, Psalm 80. Um, oh, here they say a trumpet from the tubular shape. So, or it may have been a particular tune. Whatever it is, it's Al Shoshanim. Um, Livnei Korach, so by the sons of Korach, Maskil, and the root there is Sin Chaf Lamed, which is Sechel is intellect. I mean, we would say in modern Hebrews certainly a contemplation, something that makes you think. Shir Yedidut. So Shir is in a construct form with Yedid, which is beloved uh, friend. I don't know. I mean, Yedid. I personally, I mean, I have to wonder if it's not related to Dad. Well, they're saying Dod, like as in uncle, which I also think, and possibly the name David is related to Dad is a nipple. So I think it may be related to like a mother's embrace type thing. But yeah. So Yedidim. So this is a song of Yedidot. Don't know how you're going to translate Yedidot. It is written Bechisaron, without a Vav, but with a Yud. So, I mean, a lot of these, it's really hard to know, which is why Chabad just does not translate at all. Okay, so nominally first verse 1. My heart is overflowing with a good theme. I recite my composition concerning the king. My tongue is the pen of a ready, skillful writer. My heart is steered by a noble theme as I recite my verses for the king. My tongue is the pen of a skillful writer. My heart is astir with a good scheme. I say my works are for a king. Um, my tongue is a pen for an expert scribe. Um, so, Rachash libi davar tov omer ani maase lemelech leshoni et sofer mahir. Interesting. Okay, so Rachash, uh, stir. I mean, it's used. Well, they're saying, is it really the only time in the Bible? In modern Hebrew, Rachash has, unless I'm thinking of a different Rachash, Resh Het Shin. Yeah, to happen, to whisper, utter, feel. Tarchish. So why are they saying that it only shows up davar equals good theme? Um, well, mm, I don't know that it's necessarily good. Is that how they're translating davar with a theme? I mean, davar tov. I mean, it is with a tov, so there's the tov there, right? There's the good there. I'm wondering why is this the only place for Rachash? We don't have another Rachash. Is it really the only place Rachash shows up in the Bible? Hebrew Rachash. Now you're gonna see my horrible Hebrew typing. Where's the Resh? And why isn't it showing me? There it is. Rachash. There's the Resh. Leviticus Marcheshet. So Leviticus 2:7 and Leviticus 7:9. Leviticus. Oh. Ah. Leviticus. Where were those? 2:7. Marcheshet from Rachash. So why, if it's going to point here, especially in Hebrew, frying pan, stew. So here it's saying it's from Rachash, but it's not showing up over here. Don't know what to tell you. Let's see what Rashi says. Rachash. Hebrew Rachash, an expression of moving, and so is every expression of swarming and crawling. Okay. So Rachash libi, my heart is Rachash. However you want to translate that. Moving. Um, yeah, it says good tov. Yeah. So Rachash libi, and this is lev written with one bet, not with two, and as we've said many times, that means uh, that's usually interpreted to mean with an unified as opposed to an ambivalent heart, right? With one bet. Davar tov, right? A good thing, a theme, right? Um, I would, I'm not sure I would translate it theme. Everybody else seems to. Um, I usually translate davar matter. Omer ani, so I say, and it is in the present tense. Not so strange. Maaseh lemelech, right? Um, huh. So maaseh literally means an act, right? Or a doing. They're saying composition comes from the root ein sin hey, which is to do or to make, right? Um, yeah, I don't know if it's not simply using the alliteration of all the shins and sins, right? You see this whole verse, L'menatzeach al shoshanim, livnei korach maskil, shir yedidut, rachash libi, davar tov, omer ani maaseh lemelech, leshoni et sofer mahir, right? So there's the alliteration here, which makes it hard to translate. I mean, I'm pretty sure this maaseh, it's in the construct form. Um, maasai, sorry, my my doings, my composition. Maasai lemela. Um, there's no article on melech in the vocalizations, so that's why Chabad translated it to a king and not to the king. That would be La Melech. But that's not how the Christian translations are doing it. Leshoni et sofer mahir. So my tongue, lashon, right? Written here, milui. Et is a pen. Don't know how many times it shows up in the Bible. It's only 4 times in the Bible. Um, Modern Hebrew. I mean, it's a pen. So, et sofer. So my tongue is a pen for a sofer mahir. Um, Sofer is a writer, right, from Samech Pei Resh. Um, it is Bimilui. Um, so Mahir comes, the root is Mem He Resh, which is quick. They're saying ready, skillful, um, a fast, quick writer, agile writer. How did they translate it? My tongue is as poetic as the pen of an expert scribe. I saw this in the commentaries of Rabbi Moses the preacher. Mahir in Arabic means expert. Apparently, he's. Let me see if they say that from the Arabic. they're not. They're not seeing the Arabic here. Let me see. Um, Syrian send cover. Ethiopic train teach. Egyptian trained warrior. Hmm. Yeah, it's hard for you know anytime the Psalms are just so hard to translate. So Lamelech would be definite. Yeah, yeah. So if there wasn't a prefix like the Lamed, that there would be a hey there. When there is a prefix, it moves into right. Without the shva, it would have a patach there, I believe. As the article. Did we have that earlier? Right, like Lamanetseach, right? You see under the lamed, there's a patach. Um, Obviously, all these are from the Masoretes, and the Nekudot, the vocalizations, I believe, are fifth or sixth century. Um, but yeah, it's kind of impossible to read the Hebrew without relying on the Nekudot. Okay. Verse 2. Uh, you are fairer than the sons of men. Grace is poured upon your lips. Therefore, God has blessed you forever. You are the most excellent of men, and your lips have been anointed with grace, since God has blessed you forever. Um, You are more handsome than other men. Charm is poured into your lips. Therefore, God bless you forever. Yofita mibnei Adam, hutsak hen bish- bisfot- bisfitotecha, sfitotecha. Al ken barachecha Elokim leolam. Okay, so um, Yofita. This is a very strange. Um, so this is, I believe it's called a pilpel, stem pilpel. Stem. Where is it? Pilpel. The pilpel is a rare stem formation that is similar to the PL and expresses the same range of meaning. Um, so the pilpel stem is formed from the PL by dropping the second um, radical and repeating the first and third radical, thus making a verb that appears to have four consonants. It's a rare stem formation, and so kalkel is where you see it a lot, right? And kalkala, it's a very thing. This is from yofi. Yafe means beautiful, and so yofita. So you have you have more become more beautiful. It's in the perfect, so it's in the um yeah, yofi. I mean, don't know what to tell you. um Rare stem verb formation. I doubt this is used in many places. Well, yafa is, but yaf yaf. Well, they're saying 7 times total. Yafa is actually a very common women's name in modern Hebrew. Yeah, this looks like it's the only pilpel there. So, um, mi b'nei adam. So you're much more good looking, beautiful, fairer, how handsome, however you want to do it. Mi b'nei adam, from humanity, from people, right? You're from all men, probably is how I would translate it. Um, yeah, you're the most beautiful of all men. I would say probably. Hutsak hen. So hutsak, yatsak, to pour or cast. That's actually used a lot more times than I thought. 51 times. So the hofal is the passive of the um, causative. So hutsak, they're doing poured, molten. Ooh, yeah. Oh, I guess it is used several times for oil in cleansing. Hmm. Pour flow. Hofal is used in Leviticus 21:10. Va'kohen asher yutzak al rosho shemen hamishcha. So yeah, I mean that's quite clearly talking about um, anointing with oil, right? Yutzak al rosho shemen hamishcha. So yeah, I mean that there's a definitely clear thing there. So anointed maybe might be a not a bad thing. Poured, yeah. Um, Rashi brings the various places. Um, so Hutsak Chen, and Chen is grace, beauty. Chen is another name actually that's very common for females these days. Um, so bisfotecha. Sfat is a lip. Can also be like Sfat Hayam is actually a beach, right? So the corners, not sure I would say corners, edges, yeah, edge probably is right. So but Sfatayim is lips. Sfot Sfatotecha, um, yeah, your lips. Whew. And I don't like the capitalization of your there. But again, the the reason why Sam asked about this is because apparently this is considered a Christological um, thing, and happy is not happy. I brought her to work today. Okay, I'll. So your lips have been anointed with grace. With yeah, I guess that's how I would translate it. Um, Hutsak chen bispotetecha. Honestly, with the Yofyofita, right? It's a song, and it's really hard to translate songs. Al Ken, therefore, Berachacha Elokim leolam. Therefore, God blessed you, and that's definitely so. The question here has been, when is the word Elokim used to refer to God or not? And basically, I don't think I've ever seen a profane use of the word Elohim referring to a single human being. So when it uses a singular verb with it, like here, berachecha, right? Blessed you. And if it was talking in a profane way, it would either have a singular Eloah, right? Um, which sometimes does refer to God, but it's in the singular, or um, what would the thing of Berach be? Berachu? Um, yeah, this is definitely in the singular. So, and leolam means forever. I mean, this is pretty simple stuff. Um, but I definitely think that this is a holy use um, of the word Elohim because it's using the third person masculine singular for berachacha, right? Yeah, it would be berachucha, I guess. Okay, next verse. Gird belt on your sword upon your thigh, O mighty one, with your glory and your majesty. And again, they're doing all the capitalizations. Gird your sword on your side, you mighty one. Clothe yourself with splendor and majesty. Gird a sword on your thigh, O mighty one, your majesty and your glory. Chagor charbecha al yarech, gibor hodecha behadarecha. Okay, so yeah, this is a lot shorter than in the Hebrew, and you'll notice. I mean, there's all the chets and the chafs and the so and the haze. So this is a very and there's a resh in basically almost every single word here. Chagor charbecha al yarech, gibor hodecha v'hadarecha. Um, so it's the alliteration here, right? So chagor, right? It's the command form of belt. How many times is chagor used? It's used quite a bit actually. The chagura in modern Hebrew, 44 times. Chagura in modern Hebrew is a belt. So chagor charbecha, strap on, probably, right? Your cherev is a sword, right? Al yarech, um, and the reason why this is turned into yarech is because of the cantillations. Um, so there's kind of like a comma there. Yerech means thigh, right? On the thigh, on your thigh. Gibor hodecha vehadarecha. Ooh. So a Gibor is a champion, is a mighty one, right? Um, I don't know how you translate this. Gibor hodecha vehadarecha. Um, see, I would actually probably translate this more like your hod, which is glory, hadar, which is okay, majesty, beauty, right? Hod v'hadar, right? Is great. It's I honestly don't know how you translate this. How did Chabad do it? Um, O mighty one, your majesty and your glory. So they're reading it Hagor Charbecha al Yarech Gibor Hodecha vehadarecha. So they're reading Gibor as a noun there. I honestly don't know how you translate this to English. Um, this is obviously the word choice and the the conjugations are based more on alliteration and music than they are on anything to do with meaning. So, um, trying to be medaic, right? Trying to be very careful and read out meaning out of a song. It's I I just think you're making a mistake, honestly. Okay, let's look at verse 4. And in your majesty ride prosperously because of truth, humility, and righteousness, and your right hand shall teach you awesome things. In your majesty ride forth victoriously in the cause of truth, humility, and justice. Let your right hand achieve awesome deeds. Gird a sword on your thigh. Oh, no, sorry. It's the numbering because of the because of the instructions at the beginning. And your glory is that you will pass and ride for the sake of truth and righteous humility, and it shall instruct you so that your right hand shall perform awesome things. Okay, let's look at this. V'hadarecha tzalach rechav al devar emet, v'anva tzedek, v'toratcha, v'torcha, sorry, noraot yaminecha. V'hadarecha tzalach rechav al devar emet v'anva. Tzedek v'torcha noraot yaminecha. Anva tzedek? Ooh. Let's just do word by word. So hadarecha, however you did hadar from the previous one. Tzalach, um, the root is so matzliach. Hatzlacha means success. Um, prosper, prosperously. It's in the command form. V'hadarecha tzalach, rechav al devar emet. Rachav is to ride, right? Like a rechav, actually in modern Hebrew is a car, but merkava is a chariot, right? And laharkiv is when you what do you call it when you put a graft a branch onto a tree, right? So rechav al ride upon devar emet va'anva. Al is with Ein here. Devar matter or word of, and it's in the construct. Devar is in the construct form with emet, which is truth, the anva, and humility. Um, and yeah, this is the same humble that's used by Moses back in Numbers. The anva tzedek. these words are arranged this way because of the beat of the song. um וחדרך צלח רחב על דבר אמת וענווה צדק ותורך נוראות ימיניך. So Torah is from Hora'ah, right? It's so this is the conjunctive imperfect of the Hefil of Yoreh, which means to guide. V'torcha Noraot Yamincha. And Nora, right, is the Nifal of Yara, which is awe, fear. I don't know how you translate this. It's it's obviously just song, right? So Torcha shall teach you, shall guide you. Noraot Yaminecha. Right. See that this is, especially when it comes to the Psalms, kind of seems like, you know, don't, first of all, I would say don't read too much meaning into it. Um and second, enjoy the music. You know what I mean? Noraot Yaminecha. Yeah. Okay. Verse 5. Your arrows are sharp in the hearts of the king's enemies. The peoples fall under you. Let your sharp arrows pierce the hearts of the king's enemies. Let the nations fall beneath your feet. Your arrows are sharpened, nations shall fall under you in the heart of the king's enemies. Chitzecha shnunim, amim tachtecha yiplu, belev oivei hamelech. Okay, so chetz is an arrow. So chitzecha, your arrows. Shnunim. So this comes from shoneh, which means to double or two. So I mean anything like if you repeat. So from that they're getting wet, sharpened. Shanan. Okay. Wet or sharpen. Contend, litigate. Possibly from tooth. Shen. Okay. Okay. So to inculcate, pierce. Okay. So shanun. So chitzecha shnunim are sharpened. Um, amim tachtecha yiplu. So nations, amim, right? Peoples, tachtecha yiplu shall fall under you, right? Tachat means under, beneath, right? So tachtecha yiplu. Um, again, the so for me it seems that the you, the second person, the person who's being spoken to, is the king. So when it says tachtecha yiplu, I would not capitalize the you there, but this king, I do think is talking about the king. Is me it, did they translate king, king enemies. Shdunim. Amim tachtecha yipol. Belev oivei hamelech. In the heart with one bet. Oyev is an enemy. And it's in the construct with melech. So the hey so oh well so in a construct chain the article is always on the last. So actually it would be the enemies of. So no, I guess this isn't. So it would be in the heart of the enemies of the king or a king. Um yeah, so maybe it's not referring to God. Don't know what to tell you. Verse 6. Your throne, O God, is forever and ever. A scepter of righteousness is the scepter of your kingdom. And this is the verse that he asked about. Your throne, O God, here the king is addressed as God's representative, will last forever and ever. A scepter of justice will be the scepter of your kingdom. Your throne, O judge, will exist forever and ever. The scepter of equity is the scepter of your kingdom. Um, so Rashi says, "Your throne, O prince or judge." So he says that it is a profane use of the word Elohim. And when I looked earlier, there were a lot of commentaries. The Ibn Ezra and Radak seem to think that it's it's a holy use, not a that note was the NIV. Um yeah, that note C was the NIV, not the NKJV. Yeah, and apparently this is quoted in the book of Hebrews. Right. Yeah, yeah. Um Rashi says that it's a profane use. I looking at the Hebrew and looking at what the Radak and the Ibn Ezra said, I don't. I'm not sure. Um, I don't think so. With all due respect to Rashi. So Kisecha Elohim Olam Va'ed Shevet Mishor Shevet Malchutecha. Right. So the problem here. So the word Elohim here is in the plural. Um, I don't know if it has to be a man, right? It's saying your throne, and what the thing with second the second person, right? So the rest of the psalm, the second person seems to be the king, um, but it's in the singular. Yeah, maybe. So the Malbim, um, let's just do the Malbim because it was interesting. Let me pull it up. We're doing Psalm 45, verse 6, verse 7 in the Hebrew, right? And so here are the commentaries, right? Um, so this is the Ibn Ezra. Yesh omrim kamo Elohim lo tekalel, right? So he's the Ibn Ezra is saying there are those who say that it's like do not curse the judges, right? Um, V'hagaon Amar, and I think he's talking about the Radak. Kisecha Yachin Elokim, right? Um, that your that God will prepare your throne. Velafidati, and according to my understanding, um, Shemal Shemalta Kisecha Tishamesh Ba'avor Acheret. Shemilat Kisecha, that the word your throne Tishamesh Ba'avor Acheret is being used in a different way. Kederach V'hanevua Oded Hanavi. The way that Oded the prophet used it. Shahu Kamo V'hanevua Nevuat Oded. No, so V'hanevua Oded Hanavi. So he's there. Apparently, there's a verse regarding Oded where it's using the word nevuah in that way. V'kachaze kisacha kise Elokim. Your throne is a throne of God. Kamo v'yashav Shlomo al kise havaya. Like there's the verse that Shlomo sat on the throne of the Lord, and there it's the Tetragrammaton. Omer Kichisecha lenochach Hashem, because your throne is before God. Hapasuk haba acharav yachishena, and what proves it is the next verse. And as we'll see in the next verse, it's yeah. So the Malbim kisecha achar shekisecha hu kise Elokim, right? Since your um, since your throne is the throne of God, hitashev al hakiseh lasot mishpat emet v'tzedek ke Elokim, because you'll sit on the throne to do judgments, right? Right, like God. V'lachen yamod hakiseh olam va'ed, and therefore the throne will last forever. Ki hadavarim ha'elohim lo yivalem, because the things which are divine will not be destroyed, literally swallowed up, hazman, by time, velo yaharesem, and will not um, do away with them. Shevet mishor shevet malchutecha, b'melesato hamishor ka'atzem chai manhi v'shvato. I mean, it's possible to say, and my thing is that Rashi always comes and explains the more simple thing and it's meant even for children to be able to understand it. And so he doesn't usually get very nuanced. So, Kisecha Elokim Olam Va'ed Shevet Mishor Shevet Malchutecha. Yeah, Rashi's saying it's definitely a man. Rashi says it's definitely a man. That's what Rashi says. And that's why they translated "Oh Judge." Um, Safaria's translation, so they actually have notes. See First Chronicles. Let's see what First Chronicles. Oh, Kisacha Elokim Olam Vaed. Uh, no, hold on. Okay. וכל השרים והגיבורים וגם בני המלך דוד נתנו יד תחת שלמה המלך. Um, Vayeshev Shlomo. Oh, okay. So actually, it's verse 23. So this is the same verse that the Ibn Ezra brings, right? So this is First Chronicles 29. It says Shlomo Vayeshev Shlomo al kiseh havaya lamelech tachat David, right? Yeah, it's a divine throne. Yeah, because here, I mean, it's we're using the Tetragrammaton here, so that's clear, right? Um, yeah, and this is what the Ibn Ezra brought too. Yeah. So, and honestly, you could almost say that it's Kisecha Elokim Olam Va'ed. Oof. Honestly, this whole psalm is Shevet Mishor Shevet Malchutecha. This is not a psalm I would darshan. I would, if you're trying to make um diukim, and it's a song, right? Um, Shevet is a scepter. Mishor comes from Yashar, with straight righteousness. Shevet Malchutecha, the scepter of your kingdom. And I'm actually wondering what Michael Heiser says here. I'm guessing Heiser's gonna say that. I mean, it's obviously talking about the king. It seems to me quite clearly talking about the king sitting on a divine throne, right? The throne which belongs to God, in a similar way as First Chronicles. I assume he would go with the Hebrews 1:8 reading, but I don't know. Oh, Heiser? Yeah, I don't know what Hebrews 1:8 says here. Let's look that up. Hebrews 1:8. Unto whoever the Son, unto our the Son, the throne of you, O God, is to the age of the ages. So, and as to indeed the angels, he says, the one making the angels of him winds, and the ministers of him of fire and flame. The Trinitarians view is that this psalm is calling the king God. The next verse saying God has a God, ergo Trinity. Um, yeah, let's try the next verse. Let's see, because um, so the Ibn Ezra, I think it was saying it that it's really the next verse which proves how it's used. So let's take a look at that. You love righteousness and hate wickedness. Therefore, God, your God, has anointed you with the oil of gladness more than your companions. Um, you love righteousness and hate wickedness. Therefore, God, your God, has set you above your companions by anointing you with the oil of joy. Your throne, sorry. You loved righteousness and you hate wickedness. Therefore, God, your God, and there's both translating both as holy, anointed you with oil of joy from among your peers. Um, Ahavta tzedek v'tisna resha al ken meshachacha Elokim Elokecha shemen sason mechavarecha. So ahav is to love, so you loved, right? Uh, tzedek, righteousness. V'tisna, right, and you hate. Um, resha, evil, wickedness. Al ken meshachecha Elokim Elokecha. Therefore, has anointed you, Mashach, right, where Mashiach comes from. Elokim Elokecha, God who is your God. Shemen Sason Mechavarecha. Shemen is oil, Sason is joy, gladness. Mechavarecha, from your companions. Chaver um, means join, to join something. Um, so from those who are with you, your companions. And what the Ibn Ezra is saying is that, I mean, obviously here, both of these are holy uses. So the previous one should have been a holy use as well. Yeah, I would. It seems to me, despite what Rashi says, that all of the uses of the word Elohim are holy, not profane uses. I mean, Shlomo how can you get more? And this is what the Ibn Ezra brings. Vayeshev Shlomo al kiseh havaya lemelech tachat David. So Solomon sat on the throne of the Lord, right? Um, so yeah, I don't think it's referring to. I don't think it's referring to the king as God in verse 6 at all. Yeah, it seems to me it's not that. Okay, let's keep on going. Verse 8. All your garments are scented with myrrh and aloes and cassia, out of the ivory palaces by which they have made you glad. All your robes are fragrant with myrrh and aloes and cassia. From palaces adorned with ivory, the music of the strings make you glad. Myrrh and aloes and cassia are all your garments, more than ivory palaces. Those that are mine will cause you to rejoice. Okay. Um, more va'ahalot ketziot kol begodetecha min hechle shen mini simchutecha simchucha. How they translate? Those that are mine will cause you to rejoice. Mini simchutecha. What is Rashi saying? The palaces that are mine, they will make you rejoice. Those that give you your reward. Do word for word. So more is mir, yeah. The ahalot, not sure what ahalot is, but aloes, okay. Kitziot, not sure what that is, but Kesha, fine. Guess it's the only place it's used in the entire Bible from Ketzah. Kol begodetecha, right? So yeah, I mean these must be some sort of sense, right? Your uh, beged is a garment, right? So your garments, begodetecha, it's in without a vav. Um, so yeah, scented, fragrant are your garments. Okay. Min hechleshen mini simchutecha. Simchucha, sorry. Min is from. Hechal is a palace, a chamber, right? Hechleshen. So shen means tooth. Um, and Rashi also says that this is here ivory. So palaces of tooth of ivory, mini simchucha. So this mini here, string. Let me see where the minim ve'ugav. Ooh, what does Rashi say? Mini. Hey, hi. Some of the quieter words are getting cut out. Do you have a volume slider that cuts out lower volume? Yes, I do. Um, that's to keep the ambulance sirens from behind me. Um, yeah, I have it. It's called a noise gate. Um, maybe it's set too high. Sorry, people. Let me edit. Uh, okay. Hello. 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 I'm not sure I should be messing with this right now. I'll have to try to. What I should do is speak into the mic more and louder. That's what I should do. Okay. Um. Yeah. Yeah. So what I changed is actually I'm speaking into the mic as I should because this is one of those mics that when it's supposed to cut off, uh, yeah, uh, distant noises. So it's working as it should. I'm just being lazy and sitting back. Okay, let's get back to where we were. Okay, so Mimi, they're saying it's a they're saying so the NIV is trying to say that that Mini is some sort of string instrument. It's a freaking song. It's a song, and the meaning here is because there's the mean, right? Min hechle shen mini simchucha. Simchucha, sorry. Simchucha, it's the plural, so it's the I don't think that makes sense that they're saying mini is string instrument because that I don't see how that would be a plural. It's obviously the heichal, which is the which is causing well no min hechleshen from palaces of ivory, and honestly I could definitely understand that this is when it says hechleshen it could be talking about people's mouths. That is also hechleshen. It's a freaking song. I'm sorry. I don't I don't know how you translate songs. Verse 9. King's daughters are among your honorable women. At your right hand stands the queen in gold from Ophir. Daughters of kings are among your honored women. At your right hand is the royal bride in gold of Ophir. Um, the daughters of kings will visit you. The queen will stand at your right, bedecked with golden jewelry from Ophir. Oof. Okay. Benot melachim bikrotecha nitzva shegel leyamincha bechetem Ophir. Benot is daughters, right? Benot melachim, so it's in construct form with kings. So princesses, right? Or queens. I guess you could translate it as queens. Bikrotecha. So Rashi is translating this as coming from the root bet kuf resh, which means to greet or to meet. Um, Boker, which means morning, has the same root. Bikrotecha, and they're translating it as it's yakar, which means um, yakar means splendid, rare, precious, weighty. Okay. Um, so they're trying to translate it, saying that the yud there is part of the root of the word, whereas Rashi's saying that it's not. Um, I can understand from the vocalizations why they would be saying that. Rashi, literally your visitors, bikrotecha. The kaf is punctuated with a dagesh because it is an expression of visiting, although it is preceded by a yud. I saw in Rav Sadia's punctuation that this word is arranged with Isaiah 42:24, who subjected Jacob to plunder, lemshisa, which is written with a yud, although the samech is punctuated with a dagesh. Menachem, however, associated it with an expression of value as Job 28:16. So Rashi's saying that there is a dagesh in the kuf, and that is indicating to him that the yud is not part of the root, whereas Menachem apparently also does yakar. Bikrotecha nitzvah. Bikrotecha. Benot melachim bikrotecha. So princesses or queens are greeting you or are part of your honorable ones. Okay? Um, the one thing I will say is I can't see how you would say that refers to Jesus. Nitzvah shegel leyamincha bechetem ofir. So nitzvah is standing, right? Matzeva is a monument, right? So nitzvah shegel. Um, so yeah, there's a thing in the Talmud about shegel. Um, but shegel, I mean, it is queen. How many times does it show up in the Bible? Consort. Twice. Yeah. From shagel. To violate or ravish. Oh. So actually, when this shows up in the Bible, when this root shows up in the Bible, and that's what kind of the Talmud was referring to, we don't actually read it in public because we do that with several words in we do that with several words that were considered to um, were not considered were considered too vulgar to be read out loud. So the katav and the kri is different when this shows up in Deuteronomy 28:30, in Isaiah 13:6, in Jeremiah 3:2, and in Zechariah 14:2. It uses tishachavna or shukavt, um, it, which means to sleep, lie with, right? Um, and that's used as a euphemism instead when we read it. So it was definitely considered a vulgar word. Anyway, so shegal liyamincha. So the consort, the queen, is to your right. Bechetem Ophir. So Ophir was a place where gold was gotten from. Ketem is fine gold, perhaps a loan word. Phoenician has proper name, Ketem. It's a song. I don't know what else to tell you. Benot melachim bikrotecha, nitzvah shegel leimincha, bechetem Ophir. Yeah. Next verse. Listen, or O daughter, consider and incline your ear. Forget your own people also, and your father's house. Listen, daughter, and pay careful attention. Forget your people and your father's house. Um, Hearken, daughter, and see, and incline your ear, and forget your people and your father's house. Shim'i bat uri v'hati oznech v'shikri amech uvet avich. Now it's talking in the feminine. Shim'i is the feminine command form of Shema, to listen, to hear. Bat, daughter, or right? Again, imperative, female singular, command form of to see, right? Re'eh. V'hati oznecha, and incline your ear, um, turn your ear. Oznech, sorry, it's feminine. V'chichi amech, and forget, shachach, your people, amech. Uveit avich, and the house of your father. The words are very clear. The meaning is not clear to me at all, unless it's referring to Israel as Bat Zion, which it sometimes does in the Bible. Mm, yeah, that's what Rashi's saying. Nation of Israel. Um, so the king will greatly desire your beauty because he is your Lord. Worship him. Let the king be enthralled by your beauty. Honor him, for he is your Lord. And the king shall desire your beauty, for he is your Lord, and prostrate yourself to him. V'yitav hamelech yofyech ki hu Adonai v'hishtachavi lo. Okay, interesting. So, ta'ava is to desire, is lust. Um, so the king Hamelech will desire v'yitav yofyech, your beauty, right? Like we had um, yefyefita, but yeah. Is it possible for this psalm to be about Solomon? This psalm is about Solomon. Yes, I would say this is clearly a psalm that is talking about the king, and it's using a lot of verses from the Bible which reference Solomon. Yeah, yeah. Now that you mention it, yeah. Um, and so I would say, right, First Chronicles 29:23 may very well be where that he said comes from. And this does remind me of Shir Hashirim, right? It's talking V'yitav Hamelach Yofyach. Yeah, Kihu Adonai, because he is your master. Um, so Rashi is translating this. The king is the Holy One, blessed be. So the Ibn Ezra says, "Im al David kemashma'o ve'im al Hamashiach Hamelach hu Hashem o Hamashiach. So Ibn Ezra says if it's talking about David, then it's simply as it's referring to. If it's talking about the Mashiach, it might be talking about God, or it might be talking about the Mashiach himself. See what the Malbim says. V'yitav hamelech hu yitav v'yitar et yofiech, b'meh shehu Adonaich, ikar yofiech yihye ma shehamelech hu Adonaich, v'lachen shim'i bat uri. So he's saying, your beauty shall be the fact that you have a king. Let's see what the Radak says. Kihu Adonai, ein lacha adon acher, al pasuk she'ata acher. אז יתבוא המלך המשיח יופי כפי כישרון מעשך, ואז ינוח לך כי הוא יהיה אדונייך. So he's the Metzudat David is saying it's referring to Mashiach. ואז תשתחווי לו ולא יעונה לך כי יסך עלייך בצלו. It's a song to the king. I think that's pretty clear. And it's using a lot of words and images from Solomon and probably David. Did it mention David explicitly? No, it didn't. Where were we? Yeah, so Kihu Adonai, so the pronoun is being used as the verb to be, right? Because he is your king, your lord. Oh, no, this must be a. So it's plural Adon. So, but it's using the singular pronoun. So this is a holy use of the word Adon. I agree. Um, yeah, so it seems to me that the right. So Kihu Adonai, then it must be referring to God because he is because it's using the singular. Although I don't know what to tell you. V'hishtachvi lo, and you will bow down to him. You will worship him. And it's in a command form, and you should worship him. Honestly, it seems to me the king is standing uh, in God's place as a representative of God, just as Solomon did. Yeah. So when it refers to you in the feminine, it seems to be talking about Israel. Talking to Israel. Right? Although it's strange to say to Israel, forget your well, no, because That's what it says in the Song of Solomon, right? Um, Forget your people, right? Am I misremembering Song of Songs? Um, thought it says something similar in the Song of Songs. Shira Shirin. I'll have to look later. Okay, let's keep on going. 12. Um, to the sons of Korah. Uh, so Dominic says, I hope one day I will get to speak with whoever wrote this. Um, so the sons of Korah wrote it. So, uh, yeah, maybe. Okay. Where were we? Um, and the daughter of Tyr or Tyre will come with a gift. The rich among the people will seek your fervor. The city of Tyre will come with a gift. Um, a Tyrian robe is among the gifts, or a Tyrian robe is among. I've got a lot of questions for the sons of Korah. I do too. Like, how'd they get away? Um, because it says that Korah and all his people were swallowed up by the ground, but they got away. Um, People of wealth will seek your favor. Um, and the daughter of Tyre shall seek your presence with tribute, those who are the richest of the people. Ubat Sor beminha panaich yechalu ashirei am. So Batsur, a daughter of Tyre, right? Beminha panaich will turn to you with a gift, or will be in the gift. Beminha panaich. So panaich is either how you turn or your face. Yechalu ashirei am. Um, will seek can also refer to fear. Yechal. Beseech. Chala. To be weak. Oh, yechalu. Whew. Rashi say. Vayechal, like Moshe prayed in Exodus 32:11. Vayechal Moshe. And as reward for this, you will merit that. So Ashir. So there's two ways of saying Ashir: the with the ayin and with an aleph. Um, with ayin, it's wealth, right? Yechalu Ashirei Am. So we'll pray, we'll weaken, will the richest of the people, Ashirei Am. The yeah. And happy is not happy. Okay. This is yeah. Let's do verse 14. Um, she shall be brought to the king. Did we do that? No. The royal daughter is all glorious within the palace. Her cloth is woven with gold. All glorious is the princess within her chamber. Her gown is interwoven with gold. Um, All honor awaits the king's daughter who is within. Her raiment is superior to settings of gold. Kol kevuda bat melech pnima memishpetzot zahav levusha. Ooh. So this is actually a very often um, quoted part of the Bible. Kol kevuda bat melech pnima. All the glory, right? Kavod. I sometimes translate um, as gravitas because it has a meaning of weight. Of the princess of the Bat Melech, Pnima is inside, right? Um, Mimishpetzot zahav levusha. Her clothing, levusha, right? Levush is to wear, are made out of mishpetzot zahav. So shavatz, I believe, means to weave, checkered or plated. Shabatz, to weave and checker. Yeah. So things woven with gold are her clothing. Don't translate songs. That's all I have to say. Um, she she shall be brought to the king in robes of many colors. The virgins, her companions who follow her, shall be brought to you. Um, in embroidered garments, she is led to the king. Her virgin companions follow her, those brought to be with her. Um, with embroidered garments, she will be brought to the king, and virgins in her train who are her companions will be brought to you. Um, and the you is capitalized because that's what how Rashi is translating it. Lirkamot tuval lamelech betulot achareha re'oteha muvaot lach. Okay. Rekem resh kuf mem, variegated, to variegate. Okay. Um. Yeah. Needlework. Rukam. Tuval. She shall be brought. What? Um. Tuval. Let's see what Rashi says. Well, that's recommend. Tuval. Let me see here. Tuval. Bat Melech. Muvaot. Why is nobody talking about Tuval? L'rakamot Tuval lamelech. V'vigdei rikma yivyecha רקמות, זה שנאמר והביאו את כל אחיכם, כל גויים ממך. So none of them are looking at the word tuval, which is what I'm wondering about. To be brought from Yaval. shall be brought. Yeah, Yuval, Yuval. Yeah, to bring. Okay, so nobody finds that at all surprising. Um, okay, Lirakamot Tuval. So in many colored clothing you will be brought. Lamelech, to the king. There is the article in the vocalizations. Betulot, right? And that's how you say virgins in Hebrew is a betulah, betulot. Achareha, after her. So now it's talking about her in the third person instead of the second person. Re'oteha muvaot lach. And the reason this lecha is turned into a feminine is because it's at the end of a verse. So instead of lecha, it becomes lach. And the reason it's using tuval is because it's the same letters as betulot. Achareha, re'oteha, muvaot, lirkamot, right? It's it's alliterating. This is and trying to translate this honestly is a fool's game, it seems to me. Verse 15. With gladness and rejoicing they shall be brought. They shall enter the king's palace. Led in with joy and gladness, they enter the palace of the king. Um, they shall be brought with joy and exaltation. They shall come forth into the king's palace. Tuvalna bismachot vagil tevoena behechal melech. So tuvalna. So this is the again tuval in the feminine, talking about the betulot. It seems bismachot, right, with gladness, with joy. Um, that's weird that it's written without a vav. Vagil and rejoicing. Okay, yeah, um, yeah. I mean, that's where Hava Nagila comes from. Nagila, that's the gil here. Um, comes from round and wave. Tevoena behechal melech. They they shall come, right? So these shall come behechal melech, to the palace of the king. And there's no the there. So actually, I wouldn't translate this with a capital K. Behechal melech. I mean, if it was definite, it would be behechal hamelech. It's not. Verse 16. Instead of your fathers shall be your sons, whom you shall make princes in all the earth. Your sons will take the place of your fathers. You will make them princes throughout the land. They shall be brought with joy and exaltation. They shall come forth into the king's. Sorry. Instead of your forefathers will be your sons. You shall appoint them as princes throughout the land. Tachat avotecha yihyu banecha teshitemo l'sarim b'chol haaretz. So now it's gone back to the second person masculine singular. Tachat avotecha, again written bechisaron, right? Instead of under, literally, right? Your fathers, your forefathers, Yehu banecha, will be your sons in the plural. Teshitemo, so lashit means to put. Um, yeah, to put or set. Teshitemo l'sarim b'chol haaretz. You shall set them as Sar is usually translated as prince, um, or official. Bechol haaretz, in all of the land. I will make your name to be remembered in all generations. Therefore, the people shall praise you forever and ever. I will perpetuate your memory through all generations. No, thank you. I will perpetuate your memory through all generations. Therefore, the nations will praise you forever and ever. I will mention your name in every generation. Therefore, peoples shall thank you forever and ever. Azkira shimcha bechol dor vador, al ken amim yehuducha leolam va'ed. So, azkir comes from zayin chaf resh, which is to remember, and it's in the hefil, it's in the causative. So I will mention, I will cause to be remembered. Right? Azkira shimcha, your name, the whole dor vador, in every generation. Al ken amim yehuducha. So this is the root of Yehudi, right? To lahodot is has three meanings: to praise, to thank, and to confess. So the nations, al ken, therefore the nations shall praise you, la'olam va'ed, forever and ever. Honestly, I have to say, the most understanding I've gotten out of here is it's making references, lots of references to kings. למנצח על שושנים, לבני קורח, מזכיר שיר ידידות, Song of Yedidot. This reminds me of Shir Shirim, honestly. Rachash libi davar tov, Omer ani maaseh lemelech, lashoni et sofer mahir. יפית מבני אדם, הוצק חן בשפתיך, על כן ברכך אלוהים לעולם. חגור חרבך על ירך, גיבור הודיך והדרך, והדרך צלח, רחב על דבר אמת, וענווה צדק, ותורך נוראות ימיניך. חיציך שנונים עמים תחתיך, יפלו בלב אויבי המלך. כיסאך אלוהים עולם ועד, שבט מישור שבט מלכותך. אהבת צדק ותשנא רשע, על כן משכך אלוהים אלוהיך, שמן ששון מחברכך. מור ואכלת קציעות כל בגודתך, מן הכלה שן מיני שמחוך. בנות מלכים בקרותיך, נצבע שגל לימינך, בכתם אופיר. שימי בת אוראי והטי אוזנך, ושכחי עמך ובית אביך. ויטב המלך יופייך, כי הוא אדונייך, והשתחווי לו, ובצור במנחה פנייך, יכלו עשירי עם, כל כבודה בת מלך פנימה, ממשפצות זהב לבושה, לרקמות תובל למלך, בתולות אחריה רעותיה מובאות לך. תובלנה בשמחה וגיל תבואנה, בהיכל מלך. תחת אבותיך יהיו בניך, תשיתמו לשרים בכל הארץ. אזכירה שמך בכל דור ודור, על כן עמים יהודוך לעולם ועד. It's a freaking song. That's all I can say about this. Honestly, that's all I can say about this. So yeah, we went through chapter 40. Tehillim 45. I don't know if this helped anyone much. I think the best I can offer is what Dominic said, which is it seems to be taking a lot of themes from Solomon, and that seems right to me. Okay, we still have a whole parak of Genesis to go. 26 verses. So let's keep on going. Okay. Where were we? Genesis 30. Okay. Now Jacob lifted his eyes and looked, and there Esav was coming and with him were 400 men. So he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and the two maidservants. Jacob looked up, and there was Esav coming with his 400 men. So he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and the two female servants. Where were we? This is the wrong chapter. We were on 34. Were we on 34? We were on 33. Sorry. Okay. Jacob lifted his eyes and saw, and behold, Esav was coming, and with him were 400 men. So he divided the children with Leah and with Rachel and with the two maidservants. Vayisa Yaakov enav vayar vehine Esav ba ואימו 400 איש, ויחץ את הילדים על לאה ועל רחל ועל שתי השפחות. Okay. So Vayisayanav, he raised his eyes, is a common saying for looked, saw. Vayar, and he looked. Vehine, and behold. That's how I usually translate hine. Esav ba. Esav had come. Oh, no, this is the participle. It's in the present tense. Ba. Uba. Ve'imo arba me'ot ish, and there were 400 men with him. Ve'yachatz. So in modern Hebrew, yachatz really means to, chatzi means half. So it means to cut in half. But last week we said that it can be to divide in more, because there was also other things. Et yeladim, the children, the little kids, right? Yelad. Al Leah, so the preposition with the ayin, right? Va'al Rachel, va'al shtei hashpachot, and the two maid servants. Shifcha is the feminine form of eved, servant or slave. Verse 2. And he put the maidservants and their children in front, Leah and her children behind, and Rachel and Joseph last. He put the female servants and their children in front, Leah and her children next, and Rachel and Joseph in the rear. And he placed the maidservants and their children first, and Leah and her children after, and Rachel and her Joseph last. וישם את השפחות ואת ילדיהם ראשונה, ואת לאה וילדיה אחרונית, ואת רחל ואת יוסף אחרונים. Okay. No, that was אחרונים. Okay. So, vayasam lasum, to put or to set, right? Et hashfachot, the maidservants, ve'et yaldehen, and their children, right? Rishona, so at the beginning, written bechisaron. Ve'et Leah viladeha, and so Leah and her children, achronim. So achar means after, although acharit does mean end, but really, I mean, it seems, since it's using it twice, it's behind, right, further back. Vet Rachel ve'et Yosef achronim. Why did they translate it her Joseph? Ve'et Yosef achronim. Not sure why they say her Joseph. It's nothing Rashi's saying, so that's a weird translation. I mean, there's the extra et, but really, I mean, no, I mean, it's shvachot ve'et yaldehem. The weird thing is that Leah doesn't have another et after yaladeha. Don't know what to tell you. Verse 3. Then he crossed over before them and bowed himself to the ground 7 times until he came near to his brother. He himself went on ahead and bowed down to the ground 7 times as he approached his brother. And he went ahead of them and prostrated himself to the ground 7 times until he came close to his brother. Vehu avar lifnehem v'yishtachu arza 7 pa'amim ad gishto ad achiv. Okay. So, and he avar, right? This is the same root to cross over like Ivri, Hebrew. Lifnehem, before them, right in front of them. Veishtachu, and he bowed. Arza, the hay at the end there is the directional hay, right, towards the ground. Sheva pa'amim, 7 times. Lav davka sheva, I would say. When it says 7 times, it means many times. Ad gishto, until he came close to, right? Lagish means to come close to. A tray is actually called a magash in modern Hebrew. Ad achiv, to his brother. Verse 4. But Esav ran to meet him and embraced him and fell on his neck and kissed him, and they wept. But Esav ran to meet Jacob and embraced him. He threw his arms around his neck and kissed him, and they wept. And Esav ran toward him and embraced him, and he fell on his neck and kissed him, and they wept. Vayaratz Esav likrato v'yachabkehu v'yipol al tzavarav v'yishakehu v'yifku. So Vayaratz, so larutz is to run, right? So he ran, Esav, likrato, which is a strange word that shows up. Likrat means to greet, right? And it shows up so many times, but there it has it's a four-letter thing. V'yichabkehu, so lechabek means to hug, embrace, right? Um, so and he embraced him. Vayipol al tzavarav, and he fell on his neck, right? I mean, there's a lot of midrash on all of this stuff, but Vayipol al tzavarav, and he fell on his neck. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it seems to be saying like embraced him like that. It's not really thing. The weird thing is this Vayishakehu. So in the scroll, and I'm glad that they did it here as well. Um, so in the scroll itself, there are places where they would put dots on certain words. And this is one of those words that has dots over it. Okay? And the meaning of that is debated. Um, it I don't know how many times it something like that happens in the Bible, but so obviously the nikudim, right? The vocalizations and certainly the cantillations are from many years later. The dots, I'm not sure if these dots show up in things like in Qumran, but they're certainly, I mean, they're pretty old. And what these dots mean, I mean, this word veishakehu very simply means he kissed him, right? Um, but why there are dots? There are dots in the scroll. Veyivku, and they wept. It's in the plural, right? Bechi is to cry, and they both wept. Okay, verse 5. And he lifted his eyes and saw the women and children and said, "Who are these with you?" So he said, "The children whom God has graciously given your servant." Then Esav looked up and saw the women and children. "Who are these with you?" he asked. Jacob answered, "They are the children God has graciously given your servant." And he lifted his eyes and saw the women and the children, and he said, "Who are these with to you?" And he said, "The children with whom God has favored your servant." V'yisa et einav v'yar et hanashim ve'et hayeladim v'yomer mi ele lach v'yomer hayeladim asher hanan Elokim et avdecha. So, again, raised his eyes right before, right, and saw, same as we had before, the women et hanashim, ve'et hayaladim, and the children, right, vayomer, and he said, mi ele lach, who are these to you? Um, yeah, I wouldn't translate this with you. I would say, what is their relation to you, right? Um, yeah, me ele lach, and it turns into lach most likely because of where it is in the sentence, because of the cancellations. So it's not really second person feminine singular, but you can still darshan the fact that it falls in that place. So Vayomer hayeladim asher chanan Elokim et avdecha. So he said, the children which Hanan, so it comes from, um, yeah, Tahanunim, right? Was gracious to give, right? So if somebody asks something of you and you're honen, that person, right? You're you give them what they asked for, right? So that this is the meaning here, right? So God, Hanan, was merciful, was generous, gracious, right? Um, your servant, your slave, right? Um, yeah. Okay. Next verse. Then the maidservants came near, they and their children, and they bowed. Then the female servants and their children approached and bowed down. Um, and the maidservants and their children drew near and prostrated themselves. Vitigashna hashfachot henna v'yaldehen v'tishahavena. So this is the third person feminine plural, which you don't see in modern Hebrew. So again, gash, right? Lagish, to get close to. Hashfachot, the female servants. Henna v'yaldehen, right? They and their children. Vetishtachavena, and they bowed. Um, yeah, and they bowed. Verse 7. And Leah also came near with her children, and they bowed down. Afterward, Joseph and Rachel came near, and they bowed down. Next, Leah and her children came and bowed down. Last of all came Joseph and Rachel, and they too bowed down. Leah and her children drew near and prostrated themselves, and after them, Joseph and Rachel drew near and prostrated themselves. Vetigash gam Leah v'yeladeha v'yishtahavu v'achar nigash Yosef v'Rachel v'yishtahavu. It's a little interesting that this is in the singular, right? Came near Leah, and then it turns and her children and v'yishtachavu. Now it's in plural, right? They bow down. V'achar, and afterwards, nigash, right? Came close. Yosef, it's in the singular. Ve'Rachel, and Rachel. V'yishtachavu, it's in the plural. Do with that what you want. Okay, verse 8. Then Esav said, "What do you mean by all this company which I met?" And he said, "These are to find favor in the sight of my Lord." Esav asked, "What's the meaning of all these flocks and herds I met?" "To find favor in your eyes, my Lord," he said. And he said, "What is to you the purpose of all this camp that I have met?" And he said, "To find favor in my master's eyes." Vayomer mi lacha kol hamachane hazeh asher pagashti vayomer limtzo chen be'enei Adoni. So he said, Vayomer mi lacha, who are to you, right? What is this to you, right? Kol hamachane hazeh. So a machane is camp, company. No, it comes from to rest, right? Um, all of this, and it's interesting that he says in the singular, right? Hazeh, this, um, even though they were all in pieces. Asher pagashti, which I met, right? Lifgosh means to meet with someone, right? Vayomer, so he said, limtzo, to find, chen be'enei Adoni, right? Limtzo chen, matzah chen, again, it's used back um, regarding Noah, right? So to find favor, to find favor in the eyes of this, it's a common saying uh, of my Lord, my master. Okay, verse 9. But Esav said, "I have enough, my brother. Keep what you have for yourself." But Esav said, "I already have plenty, my brother. Keep what you have for yourself." But Esav said, "I have plenty, my brother. Let what you have remain yours." Vayomer Esav, Yesh li rav achi, yehi lacha asher lach. So he said, Yesh li, I have, Yesh li, right? There exists for me, rav. Um, means lot, um, enough, plenty. I don't know. Um, yeah, I have a lot. Achi, my brother. Yehi lacha asher lach, shall be yours, which what is yours. And again, this is switching from lacha to lach because it's at the end of the sentence. Um, so yeah, what is yours should be yours. And Jacob said, no, please, if I have now found favor in your sight, then receive my present from my hand, inasmuch as I have seen your face as though I have seen the face of God, and you were pleased with me. No, please, said Jacob, if I have found favor in your eyes, accept this gift from me, for to see your face is like seeing the face of God. Now that you have received me favorably. Thereupon Jacob said, please, no. If indeed I have found favor in your eyes, then you shall take my gift from my hand, because I have seen your face, which is like seeing the face of an angel, and you have accepted me. Vayomer Yaakov, al na im na matzati chen be'enecha, velakachta minchati miyadi, כי על כן ראיתי פניך כראות פני אלוהים ותרצני. Okay, so Jacob said, al na. So na I usually translate as please, can also be now. This al na, no, please. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Imna, so again, if now they translated it, please. This is a supplicating language. I don't know how you want to translate it. Imna matzati chen beinecha, right? If I have found favor in your eyes, like we said lipsochen before, velakachta minchati, and you take my mincha, my present, right? Miyadi, from my hands, ki al ken, because for this is why, uh, in as much as okay, Al can. Um, Ra'iti panecha kirot pnei Elohim. Right. So, seeing your face is like seeing kirot. There's no vav. Um, so me seeing ra'iti panecha kirot. It's like seeing. It's the infinitive, right? Kirot pnei Elohim. And Rashi translate this as the face of an angel. I think that's correct. Um, I'm not sure why I would say that. Let's see what Rashi says. Kirot. Kedai v'hagon. Okay, that's from the Midrash Rabbah, which talks about the angel. Yeah, not sure how you want to translate that. I understand. I mean, just reading it, it makes sense to me that this is a profane use of Elohim, especially after all we talked about in Psalm 45. But yeah, it is what it is. Vetirtse'eni, and you will be pleased to me, right? Retzeh means to be pleased. Um, you shall be pleased with me. You shall accept me. Um, at the end of our prayers, right, we'd say Ritzeh, um, that God should accept. Uh, yeah. Verse 11. Please take my blessing that is brought to you, because God has dealt graciously with me, because I have enough, literally all. So he urged him, and he took it. Please accept the present that was brought to you, for God has been gracious to me, and I have all I need. And because Jacob insisted, Esav accepted it. Now take my gift, which has been brought to you, for God has favored me with it, and because I have everything. He prevailed upon him, and he took it. Um, Kach na et birchati, asher huvat lach, ki chanani Elohim, v'chi yesh li chol, v'yivtzar bo, v'yekach. Okay, so kachna, please take, right? Kachna, it's in the command form. Et birchati, my blessing, right? Asher huvat lach, which have been brought. The hofal, like we said, is the passive of the causative, and this is lavo, to come, right? Which has been brought, huvat. Yeah, it is a strange way of putting it. And again, the lach, because of where it is, it turns into lach, the feminine. Ki chanani Elohim, because God was gracious, again, like Hanan, like we had before. V'chi yesh li chol, and this is actually, there's lots of midrashim on this, that I have everything, literally, he says. V'yesh li chol, right? I have everything. V'yiftzar bo, to push or press. Yiftzar, to urge. Shows up 7 times in the Bible. Let's see what they say. Arabic, appoint, prescribe. Assyrian, command. And yeah, the Yiftzar bo to him. So he pushed him. He urged. I think urged is probably right. Vayikach, and he took. Okay, verse 12. Then Esav said, "Let us take our journey. Let us go, and I will go before you." Then Esav said, "Let us be on our way. I'll accompany you." Thereupon he said, "Travel, and we will go, and I will go alongside you." Vayomer nis'a v'nelcha ve'elcha lenegdecha. So lots of cohortives here because of the haze at the end. So he said, linsoa is to journey, right? Yeah, it's in during Exodus. There's a lot of to travel, which is right. Neso venelcha. Now that's lelechet, to walk, to go. Ve'elcha lenegdecha, and I will go literally against you, but before you, be in front of you, makes sense. Verse 13. But Jacob said to him, "My Lord knows that the children are weak, and the flocks and herds which are nursing are with me. And if the men should drive them hard one day, all the flock will die." But Jacob said to him, "My Lord knows that the children are tender, and that I must care for the ewes and cows that are nursing their young. If they are driven hard just one day, all the animals will die." And he said to him, "My master knows that the children are tender, and the flocks and cattle, which are raising their young, depend upon me. And if they overdrive them one day, all the flocks will die." Vayomer alav, Adoni yodea, ki hayeladim rakim, v'hatzon v'habakar alot alai, udfakum yom echad vametu kol hatzon. So Vayomer alav, and he said to him with the aleph, Adoni, my Lord, Yodea, it's in the present tense, to know, knows, right? Ki hayaladim rakim, because the children are tender. Um, yeah, like a tender shoot, rakim. V'hatson v'habakar. So son is usually um, flocks of small animals as opposed to bakar, which really herds of cows and cattle and large animals. Alot, they're nursing. Literally, they're going up. Um, hmm. Ooh, I guess it is used as to nurse in First Samuel. Um, compare Aramaic. Second child full. Talmud Ilah. So they're saying it's a primitive root, Ain Vav Lamed, whereas it seems to me to be the exact same word as Ole, right? To go up, to rise. So I don't know what to tell you. But they seem pretty adamant that in also other places, it's in other languages, Arabic and Aramaic and Ethiopic, and in the Talmud, it's a thing. And it is used in other places where it seems to be talking about um, giving milk too. Okay, a lie. Um, and yeah, I mean there is that alliteration there. Are upon me, they depend on me. I have to deal with them, right? It's the preposition with the ayin. Udfakum yom. So yeah, dofek. I think literally means to knock, but um, yeah, to urge, to beat, um, pounding, driven hard once. Yeah, that from Song of Songs 5:2. That's the most famous Kol Dodi Dofek. Um, in modern Hebrew, it's the knock. Okay. Utfakum, and if they knock it, if they press them, probably I'd say Yom Echad, one day, um, Vametu, and they will die. Kol Hatzon. So all of the tzon, the young, the small animals, I would probably say. Although, yeah, I mean, he used the same Hatzon veha bakar in the same sentence. So. Okay, verse 14. Please let my lord go on ahead before his servant. I will lead on slowly at a pace with which the livestock that go before me and the children are able can stand to endure until I come to my lord in Seir. So let my lord go on ahead of his servant, while I move along slowly at the pace of the flocks and the herds before me, and the pace of the children, until I come to my lord in Seir. Now let my master go ahead before his servant, and I will move at my own slow pace, according to the pace of the work that is before me, and according to the pace of the children, until I come to my master to Seir. יעבור נא אדוני לפני עבדו, ואני אתנהלה לאיתי לרגל המלאכה אשר לפני, ולרגל הילדים עד אשר אבוא אל אדוני Seira. Seira. Sorry. So, Ya'avor, again, to pass over, but yeah, go ahead. Nah, please. My lord lifnei avdo, before, in front of his servant, right? Ve'ani et nahala. Um, so to menahel is to manage, um, lead to a watering place. It's to guide. Yeah. Hanhala is the management. So if you're with a Karen and she wants to talk to the management, um, yeah. And I will lead, I guess. I will guide. Le'iti. Um, hmm. At is gentleness. How many times does that show up? More times than I thought. 7 times. I did not know this word. Used only adverbially. La'at. Oh, la'at la'at means slow in modern Hebrew. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. La'at. So le'iti. Yeah, slowly. I didn't realize la'at came from a word at. Ve'el ha'itim. Hmm. From an unused root, perhaps meaning to move softly. As a noun and necromancer from their soft incantations, gently, charmer, gently, secret, softly. Uh, messenger. Hmm. Yeah. La'at la'at. Okay. So le'iti. Slowly. Yeah. L'regel hamalacha. So um literally to the foot, but to the pace. Hamalacha. Malacha is work, right? But yeah, I guess he is referring to the livestock, but malacha is creative work. Asher lafanai, right? And it's forbidden to do malacha on the Sabbath. Asher lafanai, which is before me or I have to do. Ularegel hayeladim, and to the pace of or to the legs of the children. Ad asher avo, until I will come, right? Avo, imperfect. El Adoni Seira, to my master with the aleph. Um, and the hey at the end of Seir is the directional hey, so towards Seir or in Seir. Okay, 15. And Esav said, now let me leave with you some of the people who are with me. But he said, what need is there? Let me find favor in the sight of my Lord. Esav said, then let me leave some of my men with you. But why do that? Jacob asked. Just let me find favor in the eyes of my Lord. Thereupon Esav said, let me leave with you some of the people who are with me. But he said, why do that? May I find favor in my master's eyes. Vayomer Esav, atziga na imcha min ha'am asher iti. Vayomer, lama ze emtza chen be'enei Adoni. So Vayomer Esav said, atziga. So this is the imperfect cohortive of yatsag, to set or place. I did not know this root. It's used 16 times, and it's in the hefil, it's in the causative. Atziga. Right? I will cause. To set, to put. Atziga now. Na. Usually I translate it as please. Sometimes it's translated as please. Sometimes it's now. Imcha, with you. Min ha'am, some of the people. Asher et, which is with me. Ot is the direct object marker. Et is the preposition. Vayomer, he said, Lama ze, why this? Why would you do that? Emtzachen be'ene Adoni. I should find favor with my Lord. Not exactly sure what he means by that. Emtzachen. תעשה לי טובה זו שאיני צריך לה, ולא תשלם לי אתה שום גמול. Hmm. Even reading Rashi, I'm not sure what he's saying here. Okay. So Esav returned that day on his way to Seir. So that day Esav started on his way back to Seir. So Esav returned on that day on his way to Seir. Vayashav bayom hahu Esav ledarko Seira. So Yashav returned, right? Bayom hahu, on that day, on that particular day, Bayom hahu, Esav led Arko on his way, Seira. So again, that's the directional hey towards Seir. Um, and Jacob journeyed to Sukkot, built himself a house, and made booths, shelters for his livestock. Therefore, he named the name of the place is called Sukkot, literally booths. Um, Jacob, however, went to Sukkot, where he built a place for himself and made shelters for his livestock. That is why the place is called Sukkot. Sukkot means shelters. And Jacob traveled to Sukkot and built himself a house, and for his cattle he made booths. Therefore, he named the place Sukkot. Vayakov nasa Sukkota ויבן לו בית, ולמקנהו עשה סוכות, על כן קרא שם המקום סוכות. Okay. Now, Sukkot is all written with a kubutz, if you're paying attention. Especially this Sukkot is bechisaron completely, which is kind of strange. So if you're paying attention to that stuff, it's definitely there. So Jacob nasa, journeyed, right? Like we had before, Linsoa. Sukkota, so the hey is the directional hey towards Sukkot. Vayiven lo bayit, and he built for himself a house, right? Ulemiknehu, and to his cattle, to his mikneh, asa Sukkot, he made Sukkot, he made booths, right? Comes from sachach, means to cover. Yeah, from sachach, right? To weave together. Okay, and obviously this is where the feast, where the Chag HaSukkot comes from, right? Al ken kara shem hamakom Sukkot, and therefore he called the place, the name of the place, Shem Hamakom, the name of that place, Sukkot, and this one has a vav. And there is a setuma, there's a closed break here, and that's what that samech there means. As opposed to a petucha, an open break, which is considered a more solid break in the verses. Okay, 18. Then Jacob came safely, or of Shalem, a city of, to the city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan. Then he came from, when he came from Padan Aram, and he pitched his tent before the city. After Jacob came from Padan Aram, that is northwest Mesopotamia, he arrived safely at the city of Shechem in Canaan and camped within sight of the city. And Jacob came safely to the city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan, when he came from Padan Aram, and he encamped before the city. Vayavo Yaakov Shalem ir Shechem asher be'eretz Canaan bevo'o mi Padan Aram vayachan et penei ha'ir. So I understand why you could say either way. So Vayavo Yaakov, so Yaakov came, right? Shalem. So either Shalem is the name of the city, right? Ir Shechem, a city in Shechem, or shalem means whole, right? Safely. So however you want to do it, right? So Ir Shechem, a city in Shechem, so or to the city of Shechem, which yeah, I guess that's probably how it's usually done. Shalem, yeah, that's how Rashi's doing it as well. Yeah, Shechem was a particular city. So, Asher Be'eretz Canaan, which is in the land of Canaan. Yeah, I guess it wouldn't make sense that Shalem would be the name of city because then Shechem, right? City of Shechem on yeah. Uh Bevo'o, when he was coming, right? Bevo'o mipadan Aram, Vayichan, and he pitched his tent, and he so again Machaneh was encamped. So I would probably say and he camped. It's Pnei Ha'ir, literally in front of, towards the face of the city, in front of the city. I would say it's Pnei Ha'ir. Yeah. Okay. Verse 19. Almost done. And he brought the parcel of land, and he bought the parcel of land, literally the field, where he had pitched his tent from the children of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 pieces of money. For 100 pieces of silver, Hebrew hundreds kesita. A kesita was a unit of money of unknown weight and value. He bought from the sons of Hamor, the father of Shechem, the plot of ground where he pitched his tent. And he bought the part of the field where he had pitched his tent from the sons of Hamor, the father of Shechem, for 100 kesitas. And Rashi says that a kesita is a ma'ah, which was a particular coin, and that's from the Talmud. Okay. Veyiken et chalkat hasadeh asher nata sham ohalo miyad bnei Hamor avi Shechem b'mea kesita. Okay, so Vayiken. So the root here is kuf nun hey, which means to acquire or to buy, and it is the hay absconds, which happens a lot, right? At chalkat hasadeh, the piece of land, right? The parcel of land. Chelek means a portion, right? Of the land, the field, sadeh, right? Asher natasham ohalo. So netiat ohel, to pitch a tent, is a common thing, right? That he pitched his tent there, right? Natasham ohalo. Miyad b'nei Hamor, from the hands of, or from the sons of Hamor, Avi Shechem, the father of Shechem, b'mea kesita. So for 100 kesita. And does it say what kesita is? It's also used in Joshua 24, also 100 kesita, and in Job 42:11, ish kesita achat. Noun of unknown value. Yeah, kaskeset is a scale, as in fish scales. Arabic, skim off fat, scale off. Be healed from smallpox. Compare get well from leanness. Also sweep. Okay. From an unused word, probably meaning to weigh out. An ingot. Okay. Kisita, whatever that is. Last verse. Then he erected an altar there, and he called it El Elohe Israel, God, the God of Israel. There he set up an altar and called it El Elohe Israel. Can mean El is the God of Israel, or mighty is the God of Israel. Okay. There he erected an altar and he named it God is the God of Israel. Um, and that's according to Rashi. Okay. Vayatsev sham mizbeach vayikra lo El Elohei Israel. So Vayatsev, right? So like I said, a matzeva is a monument, right? And he erected, he set up, right? Sham mizbeach, there an altar, right? Comes from zevach. Um, Vayikra lo, and he called it. Excuse me. El Elohei Israel. So I'm not gonna darshan names. I mean, El can mean God. It can also mean strong. It can also mean power. I like power, but yeah, the God of Israel. And then there is another setuma which explains why there is the thing there. Okay, I am not going to stick around much longer because Happy is not happy. She wants to go home. So if anybody has any questions, ask now or forever hold your peace. I am going to say Tzefania 3:9. Ki az epoch el amim, safa berra likro chulam, b'shem havaya la'ovdo shchem echad. So, for then I will restore to the peoples a pure language, that they may call all of them in the name of the Lord, le'ovdo shchem echad, to serve him with one accord. Uh, yeah. I'm going to hang around for just a few minutes if people have questions. Yes, we did finish, Dominic. Sure. I have a question, but it's unrelated to the chapter. What is your question, sir? Uh, Asked before, but before the compilation of the Masoretic text, what was used to read from in the average synagogue service? Or did certain congregations not have all of the Tanakh? Um, okay, so not sure what you mean by compilation of the Masoretic text. So the text as we pretty much have it is mostly, I mean, so the rabbinic Bible, the Mikraot Gedolot, was created by a Catholic printer, Birnbaum, and he had this guy, I believe his name was Ben Adoniyahu, something like that, um, who went around, like, all around the world and looked at various manuscripts and really created what we today call the Masoretic text. Um, so before the Leningrad Codex, which is, I think, what's considered. See, the thing is, the Masoretes, right, were talking to each other, writing to each other, um, and sharing and correcting, and you know, so it's not like the manuscripts of the Greek Bible, because there have always been trained scribes going all the way back to the time of Jesus. People who were trained scribes who their whole thing in life was to write um, the Bible correctly, right? And so there's never been the diversity of manuscripts, and right, the that the Masorah, right, the traditional, that's what Masoretic means. Um, like some secret knowledge how to scribe right, not a secret knowledge, but actually training. Like last night, I was listening to a debate with Bart Ehrman and I forget his first name, but Wallace, who's um, who's the dean of Dallas Theological Seminary, and they're talking about how good the Greek Bible manuscripts are, and especially the early ones are not very good at all, right? And so, because the early Christians were not scribes, were not people who knew how to um, copy texts and made it their profession to copy texts, correctly. And so that didn't really happen for the Greek Bible, at least until I think like the fourth century, when Christianity became a major religion, and um, you ended up with real monasteries and monks whose jobs it became to copy things. And still, I mean, in Christianity, being a scribe, was being a sofer, did never held the same amount of cachet. It wasn't considered a being a sofer stam, right? A sofer sifrei Torah, tefillin, and mezuzot in Judaism is considered a particular, right, type of rabbi, right? there are the ritual slaughterers, there are the Sophrim, and then there are rabbis. And being a being a scribe was, even Jesus talks about the scribes, right? So being a scribe within Jewish culture was considered a a very um, prestigious thing, and the greatest scholars were scribes. And so maintaining the Masorah, right, the tradition of what exactly is the canon, the Tanakh, was it. It's just what we have of the Tanakh, and especially since Qumran, right, since the Dead Sea Scrolls, it's become really, really obvious um, that there were only very minor differences between the various books and the various, you know, there are spelling differences, there yuds and vavs, and little things. But I mean, when you look at manuscripts of the Greek Bible, you're talking about, oh, well, we don't know if this whole paragraph belongs there, or, if this paragraph was in Mark or in John, right? And um, so the scribes, the Masoretes, the they actually came up with the checksum. So they would actually count the number of words in each chapter, and they had all kinds of ways, and uh, they lined things up exactly so that, if you were to go off a bit, people would notice, especially when you're talking about the Torah, right? The five books of Moses, because those are read in synagogue. Um, so the entire Torah is read all the way through every year, pretty much. I mean, there were 3 year cycles as well, but um, pretty much everybody was on the annual cycle and is on the annual cycle. And I mean, the Haftarot. So the rest of Nach, except maybe the Megillah of Esther or the five Megillot, the five which are read throughout the year. Um, and certainly, I mean, Psalms. People were memorizing Psalms. Memorizing Psalms is a very Jewish thing. So the Jewish canon, there was never the type of insecurity about exactly what it was from the time of Jesus, at least, right? So you can talk about, okay, is what we have from Qumran, right, from the Dead Sea Scrolls, is it because, I mean, the latest book is from about is says it's from the uh, right, the beginning of the Second Temple period, so before the Hasmoneans. So at least, for you might say that things changed for that 200-300 years. You could say that, but really, and there were, I mean, so there's like the Samaritan Torah, which is obviously doctored. I would say it's very obviously like there are places where it seems like, okay, they made changes here because they had theological reasons to do so. Um, but when you're talking about the Torah, the five books of Moses, um, what we have now and what we've basically had. So before the Dead Sea Scrolls, there were Christians that um, who would argue that really the Masoretic text was created and set after after the time of Jesus, that it's from like the 6th century. People will even claim that it was like around the millennium, right? Um, so it's only 1,000 years old. Honestly, that was never too reasonable, but now with the Dead Sea Scrolls, that's just ridiculous, right? Because we see that basically the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Masoretic text, there's just, I mean, the differences are tiny. Um, Go ahead and use the Dead Sea Scrolls if you prefer. It's the differences are just so minor. It makes no difference, I would say. Um, so because of that, I would say that, I mean, what we have, the Masoretic tradition, and that's why they call it the Masoretic tradition, because there were these scribes who were keeping the tradition. Masora literally means tradition. Did I answer your question, Dominic? Or Griswold Grimm? Cool. Okay, great. I am going to bid everyone good night, especially because Happy wants to go home. And be well. And it was really nice seeing you again, Dominic. And you too, Griswold Grimm. Uh, I will